To apologize to everyone. We're just getting this meeting underway now, so I'm just going to give it a couple minutes for the Zoom to catch up and get all the participants and attendees into this meeting before we get started. Okay, in the interest of time, I think we'll get started. Still waiting on a couple panelists to shuffle in, but I've got the first ones here ready to go, so I want to respect their time. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's public information meeting on wildfires in the TNRD. My name is Andrew Robelin, and I am the Information Officer with the Thompson-Nicola Regional District's Emergency Operations Center in Kamloops. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment and acknowledge that we connect with many First Nation communities across our vast regional district, and today are located on the Kamloops to Secwepemc territory, situated within the unceded ancestral lands of the Secwepemc Nation. The TNRD appreciates the partnership that we have and respect the territory and land on which we are meeting from today. A recorded version of this meeting will be available to stream on demand on our website, tnrd.ca, as well as our YouTube channel. All attendees joining today will be muted to allow our presenters to speak on the current wildfire situation in the region. There's a lot of content to cover, so there will be no live question and answer period at today's meeting, but you're always welcome to submit any questions in advance, and those that we've received to date will be addressed today. To start, we'll get an update from BC Wildfire Service, perhaps on the Sparks Lake Complex. If we don't have the information officer for Sparks Lake, we can cover White Rock.
Sure, yeah, it's Forest Tower Information Officer for the White Rock Lake Wildfire. I'm going to share my screen and just put a map up of the most current perimeter map. So this is as of the 11th. Due to kind of the smoky conditions all over this fire and in the greater Okanagan area. I was in Kamloops this morning and Vernon now, and it's pretty thick smoke everywhere that I was today. So with that being said, we haven't really been able to fly our aerial fleet for most of yesterday and today as well. So in terms of getting updated perimeter in some of the areas on this fire, it's proving to be quite challenging. With current forecast weather, it seems like we're going to have some clearing going forward into today and then into tomorrow. But with that, I think that most people on this call have probably heard some messaging about sort of a cold front coming through.
We're not hearing any audio.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you, Forrest.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. It says I'm unmuted and my mic is working. So we'll just keep going. So yeah, like I was saying, seems like there's going to be a bit of a cold front coming through on Sunday.
The problem must be on my end.
With that, obviously increased fire behavior across this fire, White Rock Lake, and then most likely the fires all over in this area. So specifically speaking to the fire that I'm working on, we'll most likely see some significant activity kind of pushing in a north-northeast direction. We still haven't kind of finalized, not that we can ever finalize, but in terms of a more accurate prediction of what way the wind will be blowing as that cold front passes through. We know we're expecting some significant wind speeds gusting, up into the 50, 60 range at height of land, and then, in local topography might be influenced even greater. So with all that being said, we are currently kind of just placing resources around the fire where we feel that they are going to be most needed, and that it goes for our structural protection personnel, and then as well as our wildland firefighting crews. So that's kind of the high level summary. It's been very smoky. We haven't been able to, like I said, get our helicopters out. In terms of I'll do a really quick operational update. In the top of the map here, so in Div Y, Division Yankee, a lot of this, we are feeling fairly confident in the lines that have been in here. So if you've been following the Wildfire of Note page, you'll know that we were doing planned ignitions along the very top of the flank kind of yesterday, last 2 days, and into today finishing up. So that kind of covered off all of the area I'm drawing on the screen now. It's in a brownish color. So all of that is looking really good along the entire top. And as well, kind of from, this is Biancado Lake. It's a bit too small to see, but I don't want to zoom in. It takes a while to load. So all the way along here, down to Highway 97, and then kind of north around this corner, and then back down to Highway 97. Those lines have either had natural fire brought down to them, or we've put fire on the landscape and removed the fuels inwards from those guards in that area. So that kind of extends down. I'll work my way clockwise around the fire. So going down the rest of Division Yankee in the Ingram Grange area. So these kind of two fingers that are coming out of here, we've done some pretty good work in there as well. So from the operations meeting I had just an hour ago, actually, at this point, they were feeling pretty confident in most of Division Yankee that they have some pretty good control lines in. And then the challenge going forward on this fire, especially if this cold front pushes with a southwest driven wind, and so we're going to push the fire north-northeast, is this area here in the Nesvito Drainage Creek area, kind of this flat part here that I'm drawing on. That is going to be a pretty significant challenge, just given the topography in that area and the extremely dense and heavy fuels that are present in that area. So currently they are looking at putting in some guard along the McGregor FSR. So I believe that's this kind of road here, and connecting to existing lines that we've put in over to the power lines. And then as well, I believe this is the Irish Creek road that kind of connects down here to where this tip is of the eastern side of the fire. So that is currently kind of being line located and beginning to put equipment there, and has started construction. And then based on fire behavior, this is a pretty tricky spot to have equipment in, given escape routes and some difficult egress to allow our personnel and also equipment operators to work in there. So we're really paying very close attention to fire behavior and to our weather forecast in terms of what way this wind is going to be coming in once that cold front happens tomorrow at some point. And so they're working and putting in line, but we can't have our personnel and equipment operators ahead of what would be the sort of head of the fire pushing in this direction from all of this fuel. And so that's the hope is that we can really limit the amount of energy built up pushing in this direction when that front passes through, because all of this area that I'm circling here, that is extremely, extremely dense fuels. And so what we're trying to do is really slow down the fire's progression here, remove as much energy as we can in terms of control lines. Once we can have our aerial resources up in the air, bucketing, skimmers if possible, depending on, of course, we have to prioritize our finite amount of air resources across other fires burning in the area. But that's kind of what we're working really hard on, is to reduce the kind of energy built up in this pocket of fuel, so that if a column does develop here, and if the winds are blowing in the direction that they are forecast to, that column is going to probably collapse somewhere over here. It'll be an ember shower, and then potentially another significant column here. And that would then, again, be very dictated by what way winds are blowing. But those two are kind of priority areas in terms of where we're most concerned in terms of a potential fuel. So there's obviously areas of the fire that we're still, heavily invested in, but looking forward into tomorrow and the next day. And like I said, we've had some provincial level messaging on the wind event from Minister Farnworth. And so we're just, working on my messaging down at this incident level. That is what we're looking at in terms of potential. Of course, this smoke could stick around and we may not see anything of the likes. We also may be able to keep it at a fairly low energy state boxed in this area if those guards are completed. But we always are trying to look at all possible options. And so that's something that we are, working pretty heavily in. I'll quickly just round it off because really the rest of Division B is where the rest of the active fire is. So we do have guards currently kind of all on the inside of this perimeter, and that might be hand guard, existing roads, or machine guard. They're currently, like I said, they're here at the top, and then working up that Irish Creek and McGregor, and then in a westerly direction. So these lines down from kind of the south side, I guess, of the Oswego Creek drainage, it is across most of the fire, minimal fire behavior due to the smoke, but in here they've been able to really knock it down as well. And so they conducted some ignitions from the guard along behind West Shore Estates and along guard in this area. So kind of, again, trying to, if winds decide to push this direction, really reduce the amount of energy that can build up here in terms of fire coming down towards these communities. The guards themselves are sort of, the ignitions have removed the fuel. They're as wide as they are, but always the concern is when we have a significant wind event is that there could be an ember shower over the communities here, which really provides a challenge for our structural protection crews kind of that are in the area and patrolling. But in terms of putting out the amount of spot fires that can occur when you have a significant ember shower, obviously it's quite challenging. We do have a number of mass water systems. Where I'm drawing is not where they are. I'm just kind of showing kind of how the system works. So we have them kind of located along Okanagan Lake here, and they pull water up from Okanagan Lake at significant kind of fill rates for bladders and for the apparatus that structural protection uses. And so those mass water systems can move a lot of water. And we've also bolstered the regional district's hydrant system along in that area down in here. And so that also, again, just increases the amount of structural protection ability that they have in terms of water per minute that they can move. So the rest of the fire along kind of the southern flank has showed pretty minimal behavior. All up on this gives Zulu minimal fire behavior. There's been a little bit, as you can see, a little bit of growth kind of where I'm drawing down in here. And so that hasn't progressed greatly in the last few days, given the smoke coverage, but it has been kind of creeping down towards Upper Fintry. And so we have crews and guard completed in there. And we also have a contingency line going in from kind of Upper Fintry along the Stewart Lake, down to Chaperon, and up connecting to existing guards here. So that's kind of, this is our big box is what we would call it, quite farther from the fire perimeter contingency line, but where we feel comfortable, we can then have space to work in all of this area to put in some other guard, and knowing that we have a larger contingency line. And that's also what's happened on the north flank, the kind of from Martin Mountain, and then west on the Duck Range Road, and then connecting up into the highway at some point. And it's a bit off the map to the north, but that line has also been completed. So a bit more of a detailed update, but the main message, the main takeaway is that with this significant wind event, it's really hard to nail down at this point what exact direction that will pass through in. And so we'll have resources to be able to move around. Our structure protection is set up where we're forecasting the threat to be, but if needed, we're very agile at this point. We've had sort of a few days to get as prepared as we can be, honestly, for sort of a cold front of this magnitude to come through. And so both on structural side of things, wildland firefighting side of things. It's, you know, almost as prepared as we can be with a few days of low minimal fire behavior. So I know that there was one question that was sent in. I'm going to stop sharing here. There was one question sent in and around aerial resources, and it was just sort of a line of questioning about why don't we have bombers on standby, and then, you know, kind of the process on initial attack. And so we do have a pretty significant fleet of sort of fixed wing and rotary wing. So for the 2021 fire season, we have 39 fixed wing and rotary wing aircraft. So we have a combination of our provincial medium heavy lift helicopters, and then we have also 20 air tankers. So those are all on standby. And so we position them throughout the province at various airports, given kind of historical fire threat and fly times from those airports to where they need to be. Those also get positioned throughout the province based on the fire season. So we will have moved a lot of our tankers and whatnot from the northern part of the province where there's not significant fire load like we're seeing in the southern half. So it is something that we definitely do. We have those on standby. Those contracts start early in the spring, kind of before we even see a large fire bust. And so those are strategically placed around the province, and same with our provincial contracted helicopters. And then of course we supplement our sort of rotary wing fleet with contract helicopters, and that's what would be doing most of the admin work, so flying our crews around and sort of bucketing operations as well. And then any aerial ignitions are usually done out of those contract helicopters, and we have a significant amount of those. I don't know what today's number is, but when I was looking a few days ago, it's something like 200 plus helicopters that we have on contract throughout the province. So there definitely is a significant amount of aerial resources. When we're smoked in like this, it does provide a pretty significant challenge in terms of flying. But with that, it really reduces the amount of fire behavior. And so it's a challenge, but also it is a bit of a benefit in that it kind of chokes out the fire and allows our crews to kind of get a lot of work on the ground done, but totally recognizing that helicopters and skimmers aren't being seen at this point, and it is due to visibility. So that's where I'll wrap it up. I see that there's a comment spelling of my name. It is Forrest TOWER, Forest Tower, and I'm a fire information officer with the BC Wildfire Service. So I will pass it over to my other wildfire colleagues that are going to update on their fires.
Thank you for that. Maybe we can move on to the Sparks Lake, Tremont Creek area.
Hi there. Yep. Sorry, I was a bit late in joining today. I was just on a call, picked up a call right before this meeting here. So yeah, I'm just going to try and share my screen. I'm also, my name is Erin Bull, information officer with the incident management team that's managing the Sparks Lake complex. Okay, so we will start with the Sparks Lake fire itself here. So we have been seeing a fair amount of increased activity, mostly on the north flank of the fires. So three kind of primary spots where we've been seeing more activity and focusing our efforts in the last few days. So the first one being right on this northwest flank here. So kind of along the High Hume FSR. We've seen the fire challenging our guards up in this area. So we do have helicopters working when they're able to, and heavy equipment is working to really bolster the guards up in this area. It has been very smoky here for, well, today and yesterday. Yesterday, we were able to have a significant amount of air support on this whole north flank of the fire. But today, we are just starting to get machines in the air this afternoon as we're getting a bit of clearing. So they will be working in there. We also have had some challenges in the Vedette Lake area, which is right in here. Expanded evacuation order was issued for some properties in the Vedette Lake area yesterday. We've been primarily working with helicopters and crews who are engaging in direct attack and working on putting hand guards around some properties in this area here. This area shows probably a bit of growth from previous maps. Part of that is working out kind of the borders between Sparks Lake Fire and the Young Lake Fire, which are separated really just by a road here. So working in conjunction, or let's say coordinating with the Caribou Fire Center and their efforts on the Young Lake Fire, which is very close to the north end of Sparks here. So a lot of helicopter support in this area. Lastly, our area of concern is on the northeast flank here, so near the Bonaparte Park. There is some concern that we could have some significant growth to the northeast here. So we have heavy equipment who is working to establish and bolster existing fire guards here. Yesterday, some of our ground crews were engaging in some small scale hand ignitions that have been very successful. And the purpose of those is to bring the perimeter of the fire to those control lines that have been established. So now that we are able to have some aerial resources in the air again today, they will be looking at properties on various lakes in the Bonaparte Park area and establishing the need for structural protection there, as we are seeing some continued growth, as I said, to the northeast here. So yeah, really active on this kind of whole north flank of the fire, but those are where we're able to focus our efforts now. So that's it for Sparks, and we'll move on to the Tremont Creek wildfires. So smoke, again, has really hindered our aerial resources here for the last 2 days. I don't believe we had any helicopters able to fly into that area yesterday. We are able to have some in the air similarly again this afternoon. So they are flying now. Growth has been on this north flank here in the Sperm Lake area. So from previous maps, specifically right in here, we've seen some growth to the north. And the most active fire that we're seeing right now is around Tranquille Lake. So getting reports from the field now that we're seeing some rank 6 fire behavior. Our focus now really is on structure protection for the properties around Tranquille Lake. So we have crews in there who are working on structure protection. We're getting a bit of smoke lifting, as I said, which means we can have helicopters action as well. The smoke sometimes, though, certainly works in our favor. While it may ground our aerial resources, it shields the fire from the direct sun, which leads to usually some more subdued fire behavior. So that was in our favor yesterday. But as that smoke is beginning to lift, we're seeing some increased fire activity here. This arm here to the east, that was fairly concerning and still is as it's growing towards Logan Lake. Not as much movement in that area yesterday and today, so it still remains about 6 kilometers from Logan Lake here. Seeing more growth in this area here, so kind of around the Forge Mountain. It is still moving south, and I believe at this point it's probably 1 to 3 kilometers to the west of Logan Lake is where we're seeing it at this time. Growth here also in the Glossy Mountain area. So again, we're focusing on structure protection in Tranquille Lake, and we do have heavy equipment, ground crews and fallers who are working to widen the area around the power line here. So they're removing fuels and creating a fuel-free area. This will function as a contingency guard. We also have equipment who is moving to the west here to get in front of this area as well. The Highland Valley Copper Mine has quite a lot of cleared fuel-free area. So if the fire is getting there, we're hoping that will offer some protection as well. We are seeing, as I said, some pretty significant fire behavior. So we will work on those guards, work with aerial resources. We have some heavy helicopters working in the area now. But when we're seeing that pretty aggressive fire behavior, sometimes we do have to pull our crews out for their safety. So that is something we will be keeping a close eye on today and tomorrow. And yeah, that's all the updates we have from the Sparks complex.
Thank you very much for that. I believe we've got BC Wildfire Service on the Lytton Complex next.
Hello, yes, I'm here. My name is John Stacer. I'm the information officer for the Lytton Complex. That's JOHNSTOESSER. We have 4 fires in the complex, and I will try to share my screen here too. Okay, so I'll start with the Lytton Creek wildfire here. The fire is still classified as out of control, and the size is approximately 55,000 hectares as of yesterday. And you'll note that over the past few days, that size has grown. Yeah, maybe about 4 or 5 days ago, the size of this fire was about 51,000 hectares. So we're seeing around 4,000 approximately hectares of growth on this fire. And primarily that is happening in this southeast portion, which is near Platte Creek drainage right here, and Memenu Mountain. Sorry about the pronunciation there. And this is where we've seen the most active fire behavior over the past 3 days. The fire activity in this region here has been quite extreme and putting up a lot of smoke, and so residents in this area have been able to see that. We are seeing a guard that we have south of Shakin, right in this area, right here, holding very well. There's a power line guard in that area, and then further contingency guards follow the Manning Creek Forest Service Road down on the east side of the mountain and down to Wyche Creek, like so. And the fire activity is now starting to come to this guard's edge, and we've seen some fire activity on the east side of the mountain here. It's quite smoky in the area, but we have had helicopters working in this area, and retardant line was dropped here 2 days ago. And we'll be looking into recommendations if that is required in other areas a little farther south. Crews are working on some of the hot spots in this area and direct attack along the power line guard right here. The other active areas on this fire are in the Botany Mountain region. We've seen fire activity pick up in this portion in the northwest as well, on both the east and the west sides of the Botany Valley. The fire activity here is not as intense as the fire activity down in the southeast. However, it does have the potential to reach some of those more extreme fire behaviors. Rank 5 fire behavior is possible in these areas. There's structure protection in place and guards in the valley here, and also structure protection up farther north. And we have containment lines around here, but we have seen some fire spread to the north as well. So just a caution that this is an active zone where we do have folk working on the ground and fire activity. So that's the story on Lytton right now. We are considering all options on this fire as well. In terms of the next few days with wind coming through. We haven't seen strong winds today already. So that'll be a constant thing to look at for our teams. Moving on, I'm going to move down to the Coastal Fire Center and the George Road fire kind of at the same time. We have the Mohawcum fire and the George Road fire. So starting with the Mohawcum fire, this fire has been quite smoked out for the past day. It's approximately 4,000 hectares in size. And we've seen most of the fire activity hung up on a rocky feature up in the higher portions. And just today and last night, we've been able to get better eyes on the fire and see that fire activity is moved down slope slightly. And so it's in this Mohawcum Creek, Little Creek, and Falls Creek area. So due to where this fire has moved, the incident management team has recommended a evacuation order for some areas near this fire. And I believe the TNRD has just released that evacuation order for the Kanaka area. So that fire has made it to some of those trigger lines, some of those points in the sand that we had identified previously. So we want to be able to give people the option or the ability to get out of harm's way quickly without having to do evacuations in a rush. So please look to the TNRD for any information on that. In terms of the George Road fire, we've also seen similar smoky conditions and fire growth to the south right here. And we've been able to have helicopters on this fire for the past 2 days due to the fire activity in this fire as well is one of the reasons for the recent evacuation order. And so we'll continue to assess and revise any recommendations for evacuation orders and alerts based on the fire activity on these 2 fires. Heavy equipment is working on the Mohawcum fire, and we have plans for the George Road fire as well to create some north-south fire guards, these areas. And the final fire in the complex is the McKay Creek fire. Portion of this fire is within the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District rather than the Thompson-Nicola. However, it is a wildfire of note. Most of the fire activity that we've seen in the past few days is in this area, the Fred Antoine Park, kind of the northern reaches of this drainage, and also in the Apple Springs drainage right here on the west side of the drainage. So along the highway here, an evacuation order was recommended for the communities of the Alicum Valley and the Bridge River and Apple Springs communities here. This activity is highly visible from highways 99 and communities farther south. It will be visible for today and the next few days as well. However, this fire activity does not threaten the community of Lytton. The highway here as well is not closed, Highway 40. However, there are crews in this area, heavy equipment, and smoke. And so anyone who's traveling through this area should really only be doing so if they need to be traveling through and exercising all caution while on the roads here. The rest of the fire on 10:30 has been looking pretty quiet. We've had crews working in this area doing some mop up, and thermal scans have kind of shown that this is where most of the fire activity is right now. And so that is the McKay Creek fire. Thank you.
Thank you for that update. I will clarify with the George Road Mohawcum fires and that recommendation for order. The TNRD issued order for just over 20 properties along the Highway 1 there. The remaining evacuation orders will come from the respective First Nations. So any First Nations individuals wanting to know about orders in that can find that information through their local band office. Next, we'll move on to the Flat Lake and Young Lake fires.
Hi, sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, yeah, it's Jessica with the Northeast Complex here. I'm just going to share my screen of the Flat Lake Fire. One moment here. Apologies, 1 second. Okay, so you should now see the public map here for Flat Lake. So yesterday, we did see a significant increase in fire behavior. We did have a wind shift. We were experiencing winds from the north, and we are now experiencing winds from the south, and that challenged our lines on the northern flank. So I'll start off here on the west. So a couple of days ago, we did have an excursion across our containment line here. We are working to secure that with heavy equipment and with the support of skimmers that are out there working on that right now. Over here on our most kind of middle northern flank, the fire did move into the Moose Valley Park here. We did have really low relative humidities, warmer temperatures, and as I mentioned, the wind shift that all contributed to extreme fire behavior in this area. So right now it's kind of sitting up here and not where that red line is anymore. There is mature spruce in this park here. And so if it does get into that, we do anticipate that it will be volatile fuels that it will be in, and that we will see some increased fire behavior in there. Right now, we're working to widen some pre-existing roads, so kind of to the east over here, and then we'll be working our way north, kind of off of the map here, and then working to the west to put in a new control line to the north of the Moose Valley Park. We do have firefighters that are on this eastern side here that are doing more direct attack methods and patrolling and extinguishing any hotspots kind of in this area here, as we are seeing some smokes that are beginning to pop up in that area. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. We're really focusing in on this section right here, really establishing those new containment lines and trying to prevent some further spread. We do have aircraft that are working in this area. We did just have our kind of visibility clear, so our helicopters are able to work in this area and cool hotspots and try to slow down the fire behavior in this area here.
Did we have any comment on the Young Lake, or was that covered under Sparks Lake?
Sorry about that. I will just move to that map here. So for the Young Lake fire, as Aaron had mentioned, there is increased activity on this flank here. We do have crews that are working around some properties and just putting in some fuel-free guards and mopping up any smokes that they see in that area. We are seeing increased activity kind of in this eastern flank here as well. And we do have firefighters that are working along this perimeter and patrolling, and we do have aircraft that are in the air as the air has cleared in that area.
All right, that's great, thank you. A reminder to the attendees, we're seeing some questions pop up in the chat. We won't be able to address those today. Please submit those online through TNRD.ca. Moving forward, we have EMBC here, and they're going to provide an update on some of the activities that they've been up to.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Terry Olson from Emergency Management BC. And some of the things that we've been working on is supporting communities to put together their evacuation plans and having communities work together so that we can determine the best route so that we don't have everyone going in the same direction. It's been a very positive approach, and communities are working collaboratively and being supported by host communities. So very happy with progress on that. And that's all from EMBC today.
Thank you for that. We had hoped to have some representatives from Logan Lake here today, but they're quite busy. From my understanding, there has been some damage to hydro infrastructure up there. So they're attempting to regain network and power to their emergency operations center. I'll speak a little bit on what was going down in Logan Lake. But I want to remind everyone that a recording of this will be available on our YouTube channel and our website. And you know what, it's probably going to make the most sense for me to share this on the map. Okay, so this is our dashboard. It pulls data not only from our evacuation alerts and orders, but also from all of our member municipalities and First Nations. So you'll see a lot of different data points going on in here. Let's pull into the Logan Lake area first. So this happened on Thursday with the increased fire activity on Tremont Creek. There was a recommendation. The TNRD issued an evacuation order for a number of properties along Tranquille Road, which also tied into the evacuation order for the District of Logan Lake. Now, this order was issued by the District of Logan Lake, not by the TNRD. So if there's specific questions or concerns about their evacuation order, that will be answered through their Emergency Operations Center when they're up and running. At this time, because of the fire behavior, this area is not under evacuation order. Also in relation to this, we have issued evacuation alerts through the Cherry Creek and Greenstone Mountain areas. If we begin seeing wind shifts, we may have recommendations to shift areas of this to evacuation order, but at this time, they are just evacuation alerts. I'll move over. Actually, you know what, we know we didn't cover every fire that's happening in the region right now. There is fires up in the Shuswap and Adams Lake areas. There hasn't been significant activity up there. We don't have any new updates since the last ones, but definitely check out the wildfires of note on the BC Wildfire page. And for any of the order information, you can go to tnrd.ca. The other active order and alert area over the last couple of days has been in the Monty Lake Westwold area. So there was a revision to the boundaries of the evacuation order, which you see in red here. That was to clear out the Highway 97 corridor, which has been downgraded to an evacuation alert. So as of last night, Highway 97 opened, and that area is only on alert. So we are seeing residents able to go back into that area, but we are advising them to still be prepared to leave on a moment's notice as fire behaviors change quite rapidly. I do have a brief update from BC Hydro because they did suffer some infrastructure damage in that area. They are planning an outage for tomorrow between 10 a.m. and noon to replace some of the major infrastructure. They expect that to impact Falkland, Westwold, Monty Lake, and into Barnhart Vale. So should be prepared to be without power for a couple hours there. I'm sure if the work can be done quicker, they'll be up and running sooner. But the advice at this time is planned for about 2 hours without power there. Other infrastructure updates, we weren't able to have TELUS on the call today. There was some concern down along the Highway 8 corridor with communications down there. I'll just read off a brief statement from them. We have been able to replace our transport fiber along Highway 1, and this is in regards to the Lytton Creek fire. They're currently investigating what's happening along Highway 8, and a technician has been dispatched and will be out there on August 19th. We will begin to replace cables along 97A, that's the Monty Lake Westwold area, after Hydro has completed their work. Their cell tower in Monty Lake was restored on Monday, and any residents of Monty Lake affected by the fire, they've had all billing ceased and wireless overages have been waived for mobility accounts. Now, that's the statement from TELUS. If you have more specific questions, I suggest reaching out to TELUS in regards to that, or same for BC Hydro. If you have specific concerns, please reach out to them. Happening today, I briefly mentioned down through the south of Lytton, Highway 1 corridor, there are a new evacuation order, and then on the west side of the river, an evacuation alert that's coming out as we speak. So keep posted on our various channels and news agencies for more details on that. If you are a member of one of the First Nations along here, please contact your local band office for any information and direction on the evacuation orders and alerts there. That's where most of the activity over the last couple of days has been in regards to orders and alerts. A reminder that the TNRD Resiliency Center is open in Kamloops at the North Hills Mall location. They're open daily from 8:30 to 4:30, and we have a mobile one open until 4:30 today down in Abbotsford. And that's really a great one-stop place for evacuees to access Red Cross, insurance, and other agencies relating to evacuations. So a good stop if you have been evacuated. Any resources that you might be looking for returning residents, you can find that on our website at tnrd.ca. Our EOC continues to operate 7 days a week. We are open approximately from 8:30 a.m. till 8 p.m., but that will adjust as the demands change. I want to thank all residents who have signed up to the Void Alert system. It's been a very successful system over this very busy fire season. So if you haven't signed up for that, do sign up. And a reminder, that can be voice calls, even to a landline. There's an app and text message notifications. So lots of different ways to get that information. And we're very diligent about keeping that up to date and pushing our orders and alerts through that system. So I encourage everyone to sign up for that. And you can find information on that on our website, as well as on our social media, such as Facebook or Twitter. We do intend to hold these sessions every few days. We'll hold them more often if fire activity increases and there's more to communicate. Please continue to use that question form on the tnrd.ca website, and we'll address those questions as best as we can in the next meeting. This interactive map, that's public facing, so anyone from the public can access this and get the various information for the alerts orders, as well as some of the fire boundaries and information that's pulled from BC Wildfire. Any information about road closures, please reach out to Drive BC website. They make the final decisions on any highway closures. So if there's questions around that, that'll be on Drive BC. Further information will be continued to be provided through the TNRD website, our social media, radio and news outlets, as well as the Voyant alerting system. So I want to thank all of our presenters today for their updates and all of the attendees. We'll have another one of these meetings in a few days. Thank you.